you have anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, bye-bye. What's going on, folks? Josh here with Shua Photography, and welcome to Shua Photography Travels. This is part 3 of my travel vlog for our trip on a Royal Caribbean cruise line from Galveston, Texas, down to Costa Maya, Mexico, and Cozumel, Mexico. Here in part 3, I'm going to show you guys what we did on our last day on the cruise and do a little bit of a review for you guys on our thoughts and what we liked and didn't like about the cruise ship, and maybe give you guys some tips if you guys are planning on taking a cruise with young children, or just in general, just some tips for your next cruise. So if you guys haven't watched part 1 or part 2, those will be linked down in the description, or you can click up here to go to the Shua Photography Travels vlog playlist. As you guys saw at the end of part 2, the night that we left Cozumel, a storm came through and it was a pretty rough night at sea, but it was manageable. We ended up going to see the comedian. The girls stayed at Adventure Ocean for the late night stuff. We picked them up about 11:30, 11:45 at night, and then went straight to bed. We did sleep in because we knew it was going to be a long day full of things that we had scheduled out. We wanted to go to the art auction. My wife wanted to play bingo. We wanted to go to the ice show. There was a bunch of stuff that we wanted to do. I went to the art auction. Talia took the girls around the ship. They begged to go back up there, so they got to go back to Adventure Ocean and hang out with their new friends and do some arts and crafts and some other stuff. So they had an absolute blast. I tell you, the Adventure Ocean staff did awesome things with my girls. They absolutely loved it, and they wanted to go back all the time. They were even disappointed when Adventure Ocean was not open. I ended up bidding on and buying one piece. It's this piece right here. Right after the art auction, they started up bingo. So the wife is addicted to bingo, and she got to do her bingo. We got all the cards and all that stuff. She didn't win anything, but it was a lot of fun for her. She really enjoyed it. So after bingo, then we got the girls from Adventure Ocean and we went back up to the room to start packing. Because they have a cutoff for the last night to leave your large suitcases and all of that outside of your rooms, we wanted to make sure that we packed up all of our stuff in a timely manner so that it would all be outside ready to go when they were ready for it. We did all that before dinner because we were supposed to do the ice show earlier in the day, but because we were still on kind of choppy seas, they ended up postponing that till later. So they ended up moving it from, I think it was like 2:30 to 6:30 p.m., which our dinner was at 5:30. So we really had to make sure that we got to dinner on time, we ate, and then we got over to the show so we didn't miss it. We packed everything up, we set all our suitcases outside the room, and then we got ready and headed down for dinner. Our last night with our favorite crew was awesome. The food was delicious. They even gave us a little chocolate cake for our anniversary because they knew we were there celebrating our anniversary. We finished up all that real quick, and then we headed off to the ice show. Let me tell you, if your ship has an ice show, I highly suggest you go watch it. Whether it's you or the kids, or even if you don't have kids, the show is incredible. The athletes that are doing these performances are incredible. The ship is moving, it's rocking. The ice rink is relatively small, but they are performing these amazing feats of acrobatics on ice, on a moving ship, and they're just incredible athletes. The show was awesome. The girls absolutely loved it. I'm gonna throw up some pictures and a little bit of video. I did it all on my phone, so the colors are kind of off and the sound's kind of off, but you guys will get the point. It's an amazing show, so make sure if you get the chance, go see it. So after the ice show, we went to the photo area on the ship. because we bought this package prior to sailing, and I think it was like 50 images for $119 or $109, something like that. So roughly came out to about 50 cents an image. For us, because you had to choose them while on the ship, you need to make sure you do that before you leave. So that's what we did. One more thing we wanted to do, and that was to go to the jewelry store to go to the last raffle that they were having. And this was for anyone who purchased something while on the ship. We ended up purchasing 2 things, so we got several tickets. I ended up purchasing my watch, and we ended up purchasing my wife a new wedding/engagement ring for our anniversary. We ended up not winning, but that's okay. So after the jewelry store raffle, then we just walked around the ship and kind of, took it all in for the last time and all of that. We ended up swinging by one of the bars where they had some live music playing. It was some Hispanic kind of Tejano music, and the girls absolutely loved it. They wanted to dance, so we let them dance. They were dancing with me and with the wife and even some other passengers that were there enjoying the music as well. So we had a blast, and then it was time to go to bed. Because it was our last night on the ship, we did stay up a little bit late, but our de-embarkation, I think, was the latest one, about 9:30 in the morning. So we went to bed, got up the next morning, went and had breakfast in the main dining room, and grabbed some specialty coffees from the Starbucks on our way out to our de-embarkation spot. And once it was our time to go, we left and hit the road. And about an hour down the road, I got a phone call from someone from Royal Caribbean saying, "Hey, did you forget a bag?" Well, yes, we forgot a bag. It had my suits in there, had the girls' dresses, and some other stuff in there. So it was well worth the $53, I think it was, to ship that bag from the port all the way home to us. It was pretty quick. I think we got it within the week. Just make sure that whenever you are leaving the ship, you know exactly what bags you have down there so that you don't forget them. So, who's ready for our final thoughts? I know I am. Wait. Before we get into our final thoughts and reviews, I did just get the photographer that we did hire in Cozumel to take photos of us on the beach, which you guys saw in part 2. We finally got those photos in, so I'm going to now throw in some of my favorite images from there and kind of tell you what my thoughts were on the entire experience. So one of the things that my wife and I wanted to do was do family photos on the beach where I was not actually taking the pictures. Primarily what I do is I just take my camera, a tripod, and one of my flashes and all of that, and I do our own portraits wherever we travel. But sometimes it's hard to do multiple places and multiple locations and make sure that everyone's looking and all of that stuff. It's kind of difficult, and she wanted more natural photos. So in order to do that, we had to hire someone to take pictures. So prior to the cruise, I started doing a bunch of research to see what photographers might be down in the Cozumel area that I could hire on my own, and then also see what might be able to come through Royal Caribbean. Well, there wasn't anything through the cruise ship that we could do, but one of the beach days, so the beach day we ended up doing in Cozumel, I went on to the Playa Mia website and I started researching and seeing what they had. Well, they had on their website a photo studio where you could hire a photographer for an hour-long session while you're on the beach. So I started emailing back and forth between the folks at Playa Mia. My first issue was that on their website it says that you can do an hour-long session, get 30 digital images for $100. On their website, that's what it was advertised for. But when I was emailing back and forth and I said, okay, let's book it, they sent me an invoice for $300. And so I went back and forth and I said, well, your website says $100, but it's $300. I'm a photographer, so I know like the value of photos. So I wasn't trying to be a cheapskate about it. I was trying to get accurate information about it. They said, no, we've had to change our packages, but the website hasn't been updated. So I said, fine, $300 is still less than I charged. The entire experience while there ended up being a pleasure. So the photographer that ended up taking our photos on the beach was Renata Photography. And it was a pleasure. There was 3 of them that came. It was 2 photographers and 1 assistant, but it was a lot of fun. We enjoyed it. They were very personable. It was a really good experience, and we got a good variety of locations and photos and stuff like that. If you're going to be booking a photo shoot, or if it's something you're interested in, I would highly suggest finding a photographer local. Go on Instagram and search for the location you're going to be at. So hashtag Cozumel, hashtag Cozumel photographer. Just try different hashtags and see what you can find. I kind of wish that I would have been able to do that and just hired a completely separate photographer that didn't have to do with the place. Then I would have had a better idea of what I'd be getting into, as opposed to just, running blind. And just look for a photographer in that area and book that photographer, let them know where you're gonna be, and I'm sure they will be more than accommodating. We're gonna kind of go into a review of kind of our thoughts and maybe some tips or things that you guys might be interested to know on what we liked and may have not liked on this trip. But in order to do that, I need to bring in my wife. But in order to do that, I need to bring in my wife. Wow, that was quick. Introduce yourself to the fine people in the YouTube world.
Hi, I'm Talia. I'm married to this fine sir.
What was your favorite thing that we did on the cruise ship?
I think my favorite thing on the cruise ship was our sushi night.
Sushi night was awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
And what was your least favorite thing about our trip?
I would say my least favorite thing was our experience at Johnny Rockets.
Yeah.
We didn't have good service, and with the cost of it being extra, I would say that was probably the worst part.
So what did you think about taking the girls on a cruise for the first time?
With COVID and stuff, it was pretty scary at first, just trying to figure out what we were going to do to keep them entertained and what was going to be open and what wasn't. I think they had a lot of fun at Adventure Ocean, and we still, they weren't there the whole time, but we still got to have our one-on-one family time and do things and explore the ship.
Since you planned the majority of this cruise, what did you think of the options of things for us to do when we got off the ship in Costa Maya and Cozumel?
Well, we first had our heart set on doing the semi-sub, and that was something that was available pre-COVID, and it was once you see something you have your heart set on doing something, it's kind of well, what are we going to do instead? But Royal Caribbean made it super easy to do the research and see what's available. Having to do the thing through Royal was nice as far as having the transportation, everything hooked up to the cruise, and everything was ready. We didn't have to get a taxi or anything. But I think with the cost, it might have been more effective to be able to find something on our own instead of going through Royal.
Yeah, I think because last time when just you and I went on our cruise for our honeymoon and stuff like that, we just did all the traveling on our own, not through the cruise line. But yeah, I agree, especially with the girls. I think it was really convenient to have all the options to go through the ship. But we were kind of forced to do that and not able to really go outside of that. We had to have the excursion booked in order to get off the ship. So pigeonholing it like that wasn't necessarily the greatest thing, but they did have, some decent options, and we did find stuff that we enjoyed, going to the beach in Cozumel and doing the dolphin encounter in Costa Maya was all pretty cool.
The dolphin encounter was fun because we didn't have to drive, so it was interesting to be right there in the port still, which I thought was kind of cool. But I think booking it through Royal with the girls was also, it made me feel safer like to have that all planned instead of like having to worry about all the extra like steps.
Right. So what did you think of like the things to do on the ship, like the selection of events and shows and stuff like that? What did you think of that?
I think it was definitely less than our first Royal Caribbean cruise. Like our first Royal Caribbean cruise, I remember looking at the cruise compass and be like, there's 20 things we want to do, and you had to pick like what time you wanted to do certain things, and then you would like miss out on like one thing because they were scheduled at the same time. And I think like obviously because of COVID, it wasn't as there wasn't as many activities that that we were used to pre-COVID. So that kind of part, like that part kind of I think was lacking a little bit. I think the way they rescheduled the ice show and like communicated with us like that those times were going to change, and we were still able to maneuver it around dinner. Like they gave us enough heads up when things had to be rescheduled. But I feel like the shows, they weren't as friendly like for the kids.
Yeah.
Like the dance show was great for the kids and the ice skating show was good for the kids, but like the movies they were showing and stuff like that, there wasn't as many of how young our kids are, like as friendly of activities to do for them.
Yeah.
So I think that's where Adventure Ocean like came into play, where they could like watch their kid movies there and then do like the arts and crafts and stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Like they can't like gear all of the events and stuff like that like throughout the ship to like everyone with young children and teenagers and stuff like that, but as far as like having Adventure Ocean there was really good because the girls got to do a lot of fun stuff with other kids the same age and stuff like that. There weren't a whole lot of family friendly events like game shows or anything like that where it was like geared towards the families, but I think it was a good enough mix of fun stuff to do around the ship.
I was fearful because of the things you read on like Facebook and the different group messages. Like they were talking about how you could only have your kids there so much time, or like twice throughout the whole experience. And we got lucky because they could go every session if they wanted to. There wasn't a limit on the number of sessions. And then some of the reviews that I had read for people's experiences on Adventure Ocean was that, the kids just sit in a circle and color. And so I thought the kids would be bored, but they got to watch the movies, they got to do arts and crafts, they made slime, they played games. I mean, when we would go pick them up, they didn't want to be done, even if it was, later in the evening. So I thought that was really cool. Can't always believe what you read online.
Right. Well, and it's different for each sailing, right? Like, I mean,
and each ship. And,
each ship, each sailing, it's all different because of, based on how many kids are on the ship, and what the maximum amount of children that are allowed in Adventure Ocean or in a given group. I get that. But yeah, I think we were lucky that our kids could go whenever they wanted to, and we didn't have to worry about it. But they did really enjoy it, and they didn't want to leave most of the time. So
the other thing that I thought was really cool is since we had our reservation for sushi, talking with Adventure Ocean of, like, hey, we're going to do the late night this one night, and they were super flexible on, being able to make sure that the girls were accommodated so we could do our dinner. That was really cool. And then the other thing that I really liked was someone had mentioned emailing the dining room on our ship right before we left, and so we had never sat at our own table by a window, which I thought would be a really cool experience for the girls. And so I emailed Royal Caribbean and just said, hey, we're celebrating our anniversary. It's the girls' first cruise. We would really like to be near a window. And I didn't even ask for a private table, but we got the private table for 4 by the window, and that was pretty cool. But just how accommodating Royal was for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And you guys have seen some of the pictures and videos of where our table was positioned, and we did have an awesome view of the ocean as we're going and eating dinner. So
and the sunset
and
every
the sunset
night,
every
literally
night
at the
really
same
nice.
time, like seeing the sunset on the ocean was really
Definitely. we have our next cruise planned on Royal Caribbean on a much larger ship, back to an Oasis class ship. On our honeymoon, we went on an Oasis class ship, which was huge. I mean, if you guys don't know like the size of the classes of ships that Royal Caribbean has, look right here. I'm going to block her face, and you'll see the different sizes of the ships. So we were on Adventure of the Seas, which is this one here, and then we're going on an Oasis class ship, which is here. So the Oasis class is much larger. There's so much more stuff to do usually, but since we are going on a larger ship again, and we will be taking the girls, what do you think we're going to be doing differently for this next cruise that we should have done, or you think would have made it better with having the girls on this cruise?
Well, I think in some of the Facebook groups you get to see and read stories of people's experiences, so you can kind of like learn like, oh, my kids really liked this, or you know, you should really check this part out, since there are like all the secret like things you can do. And with the Wonder being brand new, I think there's like 3 or 4 sailings that have gone out. Like, I think within the next year you're gonna see other people's experiences a lot, but what people's experiences are now is not what it's going to be in a year.
Right. And
especially with all the changes of COVID.
with all the COVID changes, like literally the day we got off the ship, there was an email that came out from Royal that said that you no longer had to have an excursion booked through Royal
for the kids to get
off the ship. It changes day by day with the COVID stuff. You know, it could get more strict in the future, it could get more lenient in the future. It all just depends. But I think, like, all in all, I really had an amazing time on the trip, and I know you had a great time for the most part.
I think one of the things I want to do with the kids is since there's Central Park on this one, I think it'd be really cool to do one of the specialty dinners, like with the kids. Yeah, maybe like in the Central Park area. Possibly.
I think that would be awesome. Yeah.
Just the view and the scenery is so different than what you would see on a cruise ship.
Yes. Yeah, and that's one of the things. So, like, we started our cruising journey together on the largest ship that Royal Caribbean had at the time. Was Allure of the Seas. It was the largest one they had at the time. And then moving on to a smaller ship, and we went on a Carnival cruise just for a long weekend trip on one of their really small ships, and it's definitely an eye-opening experience when you have been able to experience the different sizes of ships, because it really does, I think, give you a lot more to do on the ship and gives you a lot more options while you're cruising, because it's just that much bigger of a ship. I think
Adventure was fun. I mean, it was a great ship. I just think in the future, you know, the bigger ships have more things for the kids to do and stuff. It was great that Adventure had the splash pad and, you know, some kid activity type things, but I would say the smaller ships would be better for like the short, like weekend, you know, things, and the drink package that does not compare with Carnival at all. Yeah,
that's one of the things. We drink alcohol, right?
We do? What?
So one of the things, so when we went on Carnival, we thought that their unlimited alcohol package was like Royals that we went on together first, where literally you could drink until you couldn't drink anymore or you went to sleep. Whereas on Carnival, it's not all you can drink. You're limited to the 15 drinks a day. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but in a 24-hour time period, when you have a mimosa with breakfast, or I had a Bloody Mary one morning, you know, and then you have a couple of drinks throughout the day. If you're trying to have, you know, some nightcaps at the end of the night, and you're stuck with...
Or in the casino.
Because that's where I was cut off on Carnival, was in the casino, because I hit my 15 drink limit and they wouldn't serve me at all. Like, I couldn't buy any. Like, once you hit the 15 drink limit on Carnival, you're done. Whereas with Royal, you, as long as you're not, you know, causing a big uproar and stuff like that, it's literally all you can drink. So we got the ultimate drink package, but that also included specialty coffees at Starbucks, That included bottled waters wherever we went. That included
The special juices that
Yeah.
the girls could have.
With all of that being said, we've got a ton of value out of the unlimited alcohol package.
I was hesitant doing the unlimited alcohol package, like having the kids, because it was like, okay, you're not going to be crazy intoxicated like we would on a vacation without the kids. But we still, with all of those extra perks, I think, made the drink package worth it, not just alcohol related, but with the coffees. And, you know, if they wanted chocolate milk or, you know, the extra things that weren't always in the dining room or the windjammer, like you could have those extras on top of it.
I don't have the numbers memorized as to the different tiers of the drink packages on Royal, but I think it was like a $25 a day difference by getting the ultimate than what it was to get like the middle of the road drink package. For the price, like it's not that much more expensive to just do the ultimate one. Even if you don't drink that much alcohol, it may be beneficial because you might drink a lot of specialty coffee or juices or bottled water, and make sure that you book it before you get on the ship because the prices
For sure.
on the ship
It's crazy.
are ridiculous.
They get you with the buy one get one half off, and then you look at the prices and it's like, that's nowhere near what we paid individually. Black Friday sales, that's where we got ours.
Yeah.
That was the best prices I've seen watching the trends.
Yeah.
It's Black Friday for sure.
Yeah, Black Friday sales for booking the cruise and for the excursions and
Yeah,
the additional
anything
stuff.
extra,
Yeah.
the dining, all
Yeah.
of that.
Make sure you look at what days or what nights certain formal nights are, and make sure that you're not going to do dry cleaning on the very first day because
That was scary.
because that was really scary. So
Almost didn't
because
go.
we did our dry cleaning the very first day to have it ready for night 2, as you guys saw in part 1. If you didn't, click up here and watch part 1 and part 2 again before this. But in part 1, we showed you that we did
Part 1, part 2.
no, because the links go right here.
Oh.
So
I don't know.
yeah, so part 1
I just
and
watched
or
what you
part
told
2 will be right here. So
Right there?
yeah, right.
Where do you click?
Right. I think it's going to be like right here, right there. Click right there, and subscribe. Here. We ended up getting lucky that on the formal night, on the second night, we ended up barely getting our stuff before dinner, but it didn't leave us any time to do photos prior to dinner. So we had to try and be really cautious when the girls were eating dinner and we were eating dinner, so we didn't get all
Food over.
messy before we took the formal portraits. Because like I said, in part 2, we did all the formal portrait packages and it was worth it. I mean, for about 50 cents a photo, it ended up, ended up working out to where we got a bunch of stuff. Like, they're not the greatest photos in the world, but they're really cute and they're different, and we enjoyed the process, so that was good.
I think having the mini photo sessions when there wasn't the lines made it more worth what we paid for it, because otherwise there's no way we would have gotten that number of photos. They had enough places where you could go get pictures done, but if you didn't do those individual sessions, there's no way you would have gotten to, what did we have, 50 pictures? 100 pictures? I don't remember.
I think it was 50 pictures for $119.
We would not have gotten to that if we didn't do those mini one-on-one.
Yeah, we would have never gotten there. If we only did the portraits, the formal portraits on the formal night, we would have never gotten there because the lines were long. There was a bunch of people there.
And getting on and off the ship, there wasn't
weren't
that many opportunities to take more pictures from Royal.
Right. And so, but yeah, we did on nights that weren't the formal night. They still have photo areas for you to go and get portraits done. So we found one where the photographer was really cool. There wasn't a line, so we spent a little extra time getting photos taken.
I think the best time to get the pictures done, when I noticed the lines, was in between the 2 assigned dinner times.
Yeah.
Because some people were already eating or just finishing and doing whatever they were going to do, going to shows. But then before that late night dinner, that rush wasn't there. There wasn't that many people. So like the in-between was probably the best time.
Yeah, I agree. And I usually like to do the late dinner, but I think for the girls, the early dinner was perfect. It allowed for us to go to dinner, finish with dinner, and relax for a little bit or do whatever, and then take the girls up to Adventure Ocean.
And
then,
we weren't rushed to do anything afterwards. Whereas if we had the later dinner, we would have had to rush, and then there wasn't any like time in between. Like if somebody spilled on something or needed to change, like to be able to go to a show, it'd be like right back to back. There'd be no time in between.
Right.
So I
But I
like
guess,
having that.
and I just think it all just depends on what you guys are planning on doing while you're on the ship. Because the days that you're in port, you are going to be a little more rushed to get to the early dinner. Like I think it was only the one day in Cozumel because we got back on the ship by like 4. And so then we had dinner at 5:30. So we had to take everything up to the room, shower, get ready, and then go to dinner. But yeah, I mean, all in all, it was a great trip and we had a lot of fun. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, bye-bye.